Oh my gosh, this place. Oh, it is so unbelievable. It's like another planet. I really wish you were here riding with me in person. I mean, this is insane. You need to come here. I think you'd love it.
In Greek mythology, Atlas was the titan condemned to hold up the world for all eternity, which when you think about it is less a heroic origin story and more the worst 0 hours contract ever written. Norton has now named a motorcycle after him, and in a move that I can only describe as aggressively literal, they've launched it here, in Iceland, the one place on the planet where the world is actually falling apart. This island sits on the crack between two tectonic plates, drifting apart about as fast as your fingernails grow. So, the question that we're answering today is beautifully simple. Can a bike named after the god of holding things together hold together? Because historically, and I say this with love, holding together has not been Norton's core competency in the past. Before we ride, some history, because the name on this tank has earned it. Norton, founded in 1898 and for the first half of the 20th century, functionally unbeatable at the Isle of Man TT. And here's the story that tells you who Pa Norton actually was. In the winter of 1921, in his 50s, crippled by rheumatism and carrying a cancer nobody had diagnosed yet, he sailed to South Africa to visit his brother. And then, because apparently dying men rested differently back then, he rode his own Norton Big 4 sidecar 3,000 miles around South Africa, through one of the worst rainy seasons on record, flooded rivers, bridges washed away, digging the back wheel out of the mud, wrapping a bicycle chain around the tire for grip. He rolled into Cape Town to a hero's reception, caught his steamer home, and was gone within 3 years. That is the company's founding idea of what a motorcycle is for.
We are in frickin' Iceland. All right, wait, how do you change modes again? Is it the white button? That's reset. We don't care about that. Where's the mode button? Oh, wait, modes are over here. Oh, so that's mode, but I can't rain, tour, sport, enduro, urban. I say rain mode. Carolyn? Okay, so listen, look, in my defense, new switchgear, thick cold weather riding gloves, and a joystick-style control cube I met, seriously, 4 minutes ago. But here's the thing, right? Now that I've kind of familiarized myself with this switchgear and learned how it works, it might be one of my favorite cockpits in this class. I especially like how the switchgear is symmetrical on the left to right bar. Visually, I find that very satisfying. And, since it is a touchscreen TFT, if you just don't want to deal with the joystick and the buttons or whatever, just come to a stop and you can navigate the thing like an iPad. And all the menus in the structure, just like with the Norton Minx are, it's all really intuitive and it's well thought out.
Now here's the thing, this bike gets over-the-air updates, and one of Norton's engineers told me they can push changes to the TFT graphics or the fueling, or even add or remove entire ride modes on bikes people have already purchased. Is this the future? Right, the numbers. I'm going to keep this brief because nobody has ever fallen in love over a spreadsheet. Everything's in freedom units first, metric in brackets for the other 96% of humanity, because despite what our politicians seem to think, America is not actually the only country in the world. The heart of it is a brand new 585cc parallel twin with a 270-degree crank, because it is now legally required that every twin sound like a small V-twin doing an impression of a big one. 69 horsepower at 9,300 RPM, 42 pound-feet of torque. Steel trellis frame, engine as a stress member, 414 pounds before fuel. Properly light for this class. Brim the tank and you're still rolling at around 440 pounds.
Okay, so first miles on this thing, and it does not feel like 440 pounds. It's like skinny between your knees, and all the weight's carried down low. And so even at parking lot speeds, it balances itself really nicely. None of that top-heavy adventure bike thing where it feels like the bike wants to flop over as soon as you look somewhere.
The suspension is fully adjustable KYB at both ends. 43mm forks with 7 inches of travel front and rear, and a hydraulic preload knob at the back that you can turn by hand like an adult instead of excavating for a C-spanner from under the seat. twin 310 millimeter discs with radial Bi-Bree calipers. Bi-Bree is Brembo's Indian arm. Think of it as a Brembo's gap year kid. Same family, works harder, costs less.
Woohoo! I think I just did a little wheelie there. And look, for the record, Atlas has something they call total wheelie control, but I guess maybe it grades on a curve.
So 5 ride modes on this one: Urban, Range, Sport, Tour, and Enduro. All governed by a Bosch 6-axis IMU, gives you cornering ABS, cornering traction control, cornering cruise control, wheelie control, and slide control.
Sitting in the saddle, I feel like my feet are a wee bit too far forward, but that also happens to be the perfect position for standing on the foot pegs. And then the wide handlebars, they feel just right to me. It's very commanding. Seat's really comfortable. It's flat and wide, but narrow at the front, so when you do need to get your feet down, you can just slide forward in the seat, and it's really easy to get your legs down. Overall, I really like it. There is some noticeable on-off throttle snatchiness right as you roll into the throttle, and it seems to be there across all the modes. And I mean, I'm not going to call it terrible. I mean, it's noticeable. But because it's so consistent across each of the modes, it's really easy to just adjust your riding style to deal with it. And yeah, it's there, but 10 minutes in and I'm not hardly even noticing it anymore.
The dash is an 8-inch touchscreen with built-in nav, over-the-air updates. I mean, that's more electronic supervision than I had in school, and frankly, I needed it more then. Quickshifter, both ways, standard and keyless everything. Ignition, steering lock, seat, fuel cap. Now, full disclosure, I typically hate keyless on motorcycles. I don't care for it. It's a solution to a problem the keys already solved, and it adds a battery, a fob, and a new way to be stranded in a parking lot. But, and it pains me to say this, seeing it on a bike at this price is genuinely impressive. This is flagship tier kit on a Versys budget. I don't have to like it to be impressed by it. That's basically my relationship with most of modern life. Now, the seat height is 33.3 inches or 845 millimeters, which sounds intimidating on paper. But here's the real world test. I have a 30-inch inseam, 30. I am not built like an adventure bike marketing brochure, and I can ride this thing.
So speaking of the seat and the keyless entry, the keyless gas cap, that means also there's a keyless released seat. But what if your battery dies, right? Well, I asked, and there is a secret mechanical release that I'm not going to show you where it is. And if that fails, there are 4 bolts you can remove to get the seat off and get access to the battery. So you get the keyless thing, but if something goes wrong, they have redundancy, just like an Apollo space mission.
It has a 4-gallon tank, and Norton claims 54 miles per gallon, which pencils out to well over 200 miles of range, over 300 kilometers. That's useful in a country like this where the next gas station is occasionally in a different weather system. And the numbers that matter: 8,250 pounds in the UK, 9,250 euros in Europe. American pricing hasn't been announced yet, so I'll do the math the internet won't. If you just convert pounds to dollars, you get 11 grand, but that's wrong because British prices include a 20% VAT and American stickers don't. Strip the tax and you're looking at roughly $9,000. And since Norton priced this thing in the UK to go toe-to-toe with the Versys 650, I think we can expect the same fight here. My money says somewhere between 9 and 9.5 grand for the base bike, 11-ish for the Apex. Unless tariffs on Indian-built machines have other ideas, in which case, complain to your congressman, not to Norton.
So by the way, Iceland has 2 seasons, and winter with daylight. And we are in winter with daylight right now, and even the daylight's a little questionable. Like, look how dark these clouds are. All right, so handling. You tip this thing in and it just goes. It wants to change direction. It steers way quicker than a 19-inch front tire has any right to. And that's down to the geometry. We'll talk about that in a second, I'm sure. But once you're in a corner, it's really planted. It stays on line, even with bumps or dodging these wet patches or potholes. It doesn't really care. It's stable, it's eager, it's adaptable. It's really nice because you can think about what you want to do and then the bike just does it.
Now a number for the chassis nerds, 101.7 millimeters of trail. That is aggressively short, sports bike adjacent, done deliberately so the bike steers quickly off-road and flicks into corners without a fight. The usual price for that is nervousness at speed. The Atlas doesn't pay it.
The bike still stays calm. There's like no head shaking, no wiggle, no drama. I like a bike with no drama. Stable and quick steering. I mean, this is like the chassis engineers have your cake and eat it too thing. Norton pulled it off. I keep thinking about it, and I feel like this bike, the geometry, the motor, everything about it flatters you, right? That's the word I keep coming up with. It flatters your riding ability. Does this have a quickshifter? Oh, yeah, it does have, wait, the quickshifter's turned off.
So here's the thing about the quickshifter. It's a hybrid electronic mechanical unit that lives inside the engine. It comes standard and it's not the best in the class. It's a lot like KTM's internal quickshifter, the kind of shift that makes you wince slightly. I turned it on, used it for a bit, and then just turned it back off. I suspect the delay in the quickshifter is too long, and when I asked them, they said it's more of an off-road quickshifter, but they said they're still working on the best timing. But here's the twist, and it's a big one. The gearbox underneath that quickshifter is one of the most buttery smooth transmissions I have ever used. And there's a reason for that, straight from the engineering briefing.
Okay though, but I gotta admit something that I am really enjoying. This transmission is so much fun to shift. I'm shifting more than I need to, like way more. Just so that I can shift the bike. So half clutching or blip shifting and rev matching. This bike is a delight to move through the gears.
Norton went with a cassette-style gearbox, a feature typically reserved for top-spec sport bikes. It's where the whole cluster slides out of the case as a single unit. And Norton fitted an additional plate on one end specifically to reduce lash between the gear teeth. Less lash means tighter tolerances, and tighter tolerances do two things. They make the box quieter to allow the pipe to be louder while still meeting US noise requirements, which Norton advertises. But I suspect that extra plate is also why every shift lands with this almost machined precision. So the quickshifter thing is one of the strangest engineering sandwiches I've encountered. A slightly duff electronic garnish on an absolutely world-class mechanical meal. When I asked Norton about this, they said that since the quickshifter is electronic, this is exactly the kind of thing an over-the-air update could fix. So I guess watch this space. Now, since the bike was announced, the internet has had questions. And because I read the comments, so you don't have to, a decision my therapist and I are working through, let's address them. The loudest one, by far, it's built in India. So is it even a real Norton? Here are the facts. It's designed and engineered at Norton's headquarters in Solihull and assembled at TVS's plant in Hoser, the same factory that builds BMW's G310 range and now builds the F450 GS. And one more data point, the bikes we rode were pre-production units. Norton says they downloaded the rider data every single night to make final tweaks before customer bikes ship. That's a company doing engineering, not vibes. Whether it's enough, only the first 50,000 customer miles will say, but the homework's been done. Where it's built matters far less than how it's built. And by every account so far, it's built properly. Speaking of things that TVS makes that you've never heard of, these tires. Eurogrip is their in-house rubber, and no, most of the Western Hemisphere hasn't met it. The Explorer R+, fitted here is a road-based adventure tire, and I'm going to reserve judgment until I've leaned on them in this Icelandic drizzle.
You know, like, look, wet road, leaned over, rolling on the throttle, going back to the front brakes. These tires are working just fine. But, you know, to be fair here, let's be fair, the asphalt in Iceland has volcanic rock in it, and the salt is really grippy stuff. It's hard and angular, so the road might be doing these tires a bit of a favor.
Is this a proper adventure bike or a soft roader in a hiking jacket? Look at the evidence. It's a 19-inch front, not a 21-inch, 7 inches of travel, not 9. It has a relatively low-slung exhaust. It's an adventure tour, 90% tarmac, gravel detours, the occasional moment of ambition followed immediately by regret, which is how most adventure bikes are actually used, including by the people commenting otherwise. Mode by mode, after a proper wet day, Tour is where most owners will live. Slightly softer throttle, milder tune, all day easy. Rain mode was absurdly good, though honestly, the bike is so composed I mostly just stayed in Tour anyway. Sport mode, it's delightful. Norton undersold it in the briefing. It's the personality mode, the one that reminds you the engine likes to rev.
All right, so let's go to enduro mode. We're going to be enduroing. And I want to be real about riding off-road because this is coming from the world's okayest off-road rider. So, calibrate my perspective accordingly. But, I'm not the guy who's jumping adventure bikes over rivers and rolling over logs and riding over the tops of cars. The size of this thing, the weight, the balance, off the pavement, this thing is confidence-inspiring. I mean, it's light enough that you can catch it. The seat's low enough that I can get my 30-inch inseam and my foot down to the ground. And calm enough overall that even my very average riding skills, it makes me look better than I actually probably am. And look, this is a soft rotor, right? It is. And I think that's okay. I think this bike is being honest about it, right? So like gravel detours or fire roads, finding a fishing hole, or even the occasional bad decision. That's all the off-road most of us are ever actually going to do. And I think it's great at that.
Enduro switches the rear ABS off by default and reconfigures the traction control for dirt. Sadly, Iceland's weather abbreviated our off-road section, so a full dirt verdict waits for the follow-up. And the best part, every parameter of every mode is individually customizable. Build your own mode. I'm working on one called Dave. It's basically sport mode with the wheelie control set to optimistic. That level of tailoring at this price is unheard of and very welcome.
Okay, check this out. I just went through the engine settings and I turned off all the engine braking. And I have to say, I like this bike so much more with the engine braking turned completely off. And I turned it off because I could, but I really love how deep the customization goes on all of these modes, right?
And then there's the engine crowd, squinting at the spec sheet going 69 horsepower at 9,000 RPM. I mean, that sounds revvy. And they're not wrong to squint. It's a 585 doing the work of a 650, so the peak lives upstairs. Yamaha's 689 makes its numbers with more displacement and less effort. Norton's counter is that the spread of torque is the widest in the segment, and today's ride will tell us whether that's engineering or marketing. It's engineering. This thing revs faster than most parallel twins I've ridden, and it's eager about it. But the power was perfect for every road Iceland threw at us. I saw 155 Ks an hour and never once wished for Yamaha's extra displacement. The claim holds.
Man, this engine is so much fun. I mean, you clack the throttle and the revs, it just loves to spin up. I mean, it spins up faster than any twin really should. It spins up kind of a little bit like a little four-cylinder engine, but without having all the power all the way up at the top end. There's real grunt down low, like what you would expect from a twin. Like, this thing's well put together. It's like a little bit of both. I mean, I've always loved engines that spin quick, especially ones that spin quick without the sacrifice of having to give up all your torque. I mean, this might be one of the better parallel twins I've ridden.
If I understood the tech briefing correctly, and I'd like to think I did, a big reason why this bike is so happy to spin has to do with the motor employing two oil pumps. One pump pressurizes the oil to lubricate the engine, normal stuff. The second is a scavenge pump, and its job is to suck oil out of the crankcase faster than it drains back in. That creates a partial vacuum underneath the crank and pistons. Less parasitic drag means the engine picks up revs the instant you ask. That's superbike and race engine thinking, dry sump logic, hiding inside a $9,000 middleweight. Which leaves the question that makes all of the others matter. At 8,250 pounds for a Norton, what's the catch? I think the catch is the scale. TVS is an industrial giant amateurizing this platform across global markets, which is how you get Japanese pricing, British design, and a spec sheet that embarrasses bikes that cost $2,000 more. I mean, below it, you have the V-Strom 650 at 9,300, and above it, the Versys 650 at 10.4 Good Buddy. But after riding the Norton, you'll feel every one of those extra kilos and 20 years of platform age. Fit, finish, and performance here on the Norton are a class above both. The Tenere 700 isn't the comparison people think, it's a different mission. The real fight is Aprilia's Tuareg 660, not the Rally. At 12.5, it has similar spirit, more power, but more money. And having ridden both, the Norton looks and feels a bit more refined and more polished for thousands less. The Aprilia has a raw feel to it where the Norton feels fancy and upscale. I am back in Utah now. Those cool North Atlantic Icelandic temperatures have been replaced with the searing midsummer high desert heat. But I just needed some time to think about the experience, to parse the overwhelming beauty of Iceland and make sure it didn't cloud my perspective on the Atlas, because that's the honest risk of a launch like this. Ride anything past 3 volcanoes and a double rainbow, and it gains affection. So, hot garage, no rainbows, just me, the bike is only in my head. But here's where I think I've landed. This is the most polished, most complete middleweight soft roader adventure bike I've ridden at anywhere near this money, which is going to make it a very appealing value. Its flaws are small, consistent, and mostly all fixable through over-the-air updates. Its gearbox is world-class. I mean, it's absolutely outstanding, and its chassis is better than its price would suggest. And its 2 of the 3 nearest rivals cost more and feel less finished. I mean, if Norton builds the customer bike to the standard of the pre-production one that I rode and backs it in the way that the warranty promises, I suspect everyone's biggest worry is going to be the dealer network and then long-term reliability. But we need to remember that this is really backed by TVS. And what can we imply about Norton based on what we know about TVS? Well, I think reasonably expect new Nortons to be mechanically robust over the long term, provided they're serviced on schedule. Since TVS's core brands are known for simple, durable engines and strong component testing. I mean, I think we can safely say that this isn't really a comeback story. I think it's just a pretty gosh darn good motorcycle. So, can the Atlas hold the world up? No, obviously not. It's a motorcycle, but it held me up across a country that is actively trying to tear itself in half, and it never once dropped to the sky, except for some rain. Atlas would be proud or jealous. It's hard to tell with Titans. I want to thank Norton for letting me ride your new motorcycle. Thank you to our channel members and Patreon supporters for helping keeping this whole thing alive. Thank you for watching. Ride on and ride well.